Hi lovely people, I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about how to recover well if you've had the COVID infection. But actually some of the things I'm talking about today is really how to recover well from any illness and how to reverse disease. I've had lots of inquiries over the last few weeks asking excellent questions about vitamin D and supplements and what should I be eating and what is long COVID and is it such a thing? And I'm going to be touching on all of those things today as I share with you. I just want to say, I am not a quick fix doctor. So if you're looking for a quick fix to get over your infections and reverse your disease, then you need to move on and tune into somebody else. I'm all about root cause. I'm all about not treating a disease, but treating you, not suppressing symptoms, but getting to the root cause of why you're unwell, and not just looking at a part of you, but looking at the whole of you. So if that's the kind of message that you're looking forward today, then please stay tuned. And any questions from today, just please let me have them. My heart is to put your health back into your hands. So we're seeing another surge of COVID in our nation, and we are currently in our second national lockdown here in the UK. Certainly I work as an acute care physician at the weekends, and I am seeing a lot of COVID, and I do not want to underplay in any way the severity of COVID. I am seeing people dying from it. However, I do think we are asking the wrong question as usual, and our focus is in how do we find a vaccine, how do we treat COVID, instead of looking at, well, why isn't our body able to cope with this infection and fight it off? You see, our bodies are wired to heal, they're wired to recover. We just need to understand how they work and what we can do to create an environment for our bodies to flourish. So when looking at recovering from COVID, I think we need to stand back just for a moment and think that actually I think as a culture, we have lost the art of convalescence. It's a really old word. Convalescence is about recovery. We live in a culture where when we get ill, that gives us permission to maybe take some time off school or to take some time off work. But the moment that those symptoms are better, that moment that we are not infectious, we are expected to go back into work, to go back into school, and to be 100%. But after any infection, after any disease, there is a lag period, there is a recovery period where your body needs to recover from what the insult that it has had to deal with in order to get you back to complete wellness. And that recovery period will really vary from individual to individual, depending on the state of your body, depending on the self-care that you have invested in over the years, depending on other diseases, depending on medications that you might be on that might actually be suppressing your recovery, depending on what you're eating, how you're sleeping. But there definitely is, a case medically and in the literature and in the science that says there is this period between when we are cleared up from our symptoms and when actually our immunity and our body is fully recovered from the insult of that infection or disease. And that is the same with COVID. And I think one of the reasons that we might be seeing this problem with what we're calling long COVID is partly, not totally, there are many reasons and many things contributing to this, but partly because we have an expectation that once we've done our 10 days of isolation and we should be back up and running and back performing and back to school and back to work. And I think we need a slight change in mindset that after any infection, after any disease, after any treatment, we need to be really thinking about that recovery time and giving ourselves the grace and space to recover well and recover our full strength. So what are the key foundations around recovery? They're similar to the foundations that I go on and on and on to you about. They are the foundations that underpin all of our health and all of our immunity. And we will be looking at sleep, movement, rest, connection and nutrition. And I will talk also a little bit about supplements today. So in short, sleep touches every single part of your body. There isn't a process or part of our body that isn't influenced by sleep. And sleep deprivation, anything below 6 or 7 hours, will be having a significant impact on your body's ability to recover. It's really interesting. I don't know whether you have small children. My kids have grown up, but I remember when they were little, if they got ill, they would always sleep more. They would always be clingy and want affection and touch. They would actually go off their food for a bit, and almost that self-imposed fasting. And some of those things are because innately they know what their body needed in order to recover. And as adults, we seem to have become disconnected from that ability to hear what our body is asking of us. And as we're recovering, we need to prioritize sleep above all things. Now, how much is enough? Well, it really is anything between 7.5 and 9 hours. And actually the question to ask is, like, when I wake up, do I feel refreshed? Do I need a coffee to get me going? Am I falling asleep later in the day? And if it's yes to any of those things, you're probably not getting good quality sleep. I'm not going to talk to you about how to get good sleep. There's information on my website under my resource section, a cheat sheet on sleep hygiene and the things you can do to improve your sleep. I've done a YouTube video, it's not a great one, but it's there around recovering sleep, and I blog a lot about sleep, so go and have a look at that. But after sleep, the next thing that we need to be aggressively managing is our stress. Now, we are stressed as a whole world. The WHO, the World Health Organization, has classed stress as a pandemic. And when we have continued stress, chronic stress in our life, which I think modern day life, all of us are under chronic stress, it has a massive, massive impact on our immunity, that ability to fight infection, that ability to heal. You see, the stress response is all about fight or flight. And when it happens, your body, loads of things happen in our body, and it shuts down certain things that it doesn't need so that it can focus on getting you through that stress task. It shuts down your gut function. It shuts down a lot of your immunity. It shuts down your long-term memory. It increases your blood pressure. It increases your heart rate, increases your how vigilant you are. It decreases your ability to get good quality sleep. And so actually, stress, when we're looking at recovery, as with all disease, we need to be having some practices where we constantly know how to reset, how to close that stress cycle, and to try and eat a really amazing diet to improve our immunity, but ignore sleep and stress. It is utterly useless and pointless. These have to be foundational to the recovery of COVID and all illness. Now, again, how do we close that stress cycle is something I've blogged about, it's something I speak about, it's something you can find on my website, and I haven't done a separate video on that yet, but I will. But if I ask you, what are the 5 things you do to help yourself reset daily, weekly and monthly? If you cannot answer that question, can I categorically tell you that you are stressed? And you need to be able to answer that question, and you need habits and practices. I do, I'm saying you, we do actually. We need habits and practices in our daily lives that help us combat the constant stress that we get from all angles. And actually illness, your COVID will have provoked a stress response in itself. And so we need to be having those practices as we recover. Let's talk a moment about movement. So I always talk about, we need to embed our exercise into movement. Like, movement is about moving our bodies all day. You'll have heard me say before, like, sitting is the new smoking when we're considering risk to life. And we can merrily do our run or our trip to the gym for an hour. Well, we can't at the moment, the gyms are closed, but you know what I mean. But if we then sit for the rest of the day, we lose the benefit. Now, exercise is important. But I would say when we're looking at recovery from illness, any illness, but particularly COVID, it's very unique. I would love to encourage you to keep moving. So that might be just using the upstairs loo. It might be a gentle walk. It might be some gardening. might be just parking away from the supermarket door, just inconveniencing your life and keeping active. But when it comes to more intense exercise, you really have to be in tune with your body. You really have to respect what it's asking of you. And this is not the time to push it. This is not the time to increase your PB. This is not the time to max out your reps and expect your muscles to perform for you. This is a time when you are recovering to go slow. It is a time to respect. Movement in itself will improve your immunity, and I would encourage you to stay active, but I would encourage that you really need to listen to yourself, to respect the demands that you're putting on your body, and to be kind and gentle, and maybe do less than you think you should. So that is sleep, that is stress, and that's movement. Gosh, let's talk about nutrition. I mean, that's the big one here, isn't it? And the key thing around nutrition, one, you know, again, I say again and again, food is more than calories. It is information to your body, and food has the potential to boost your immunity as well as suppress it. And so this really isn't the time to be curling up in front of the TV and eating loads of ice cream and pizza. That you need to give your body the things it can to heal up. And it always grieves me, like when my kids were sick when I was little, like grandma wants to step in and be giving them ice cream and sugar, and it's like, no, like at that time I need to be really boosting their immunity and giving them their body what it needs. And so again, like if you're in that recovery phase, then you need to be putting some positive things in your body in terms of eating. Now, if you're eating ice cream and pizza, well, great. And if you can't stop eating that, then fine. But also eat some other stuff that will boost your health. And those things really, one, there's things to avoid, and then there's things to eat. And the big things at this point of time is really avoiding processed food. That's high in sugar, it's high in industrialized seed oils and additives and preservatives. And we know that this kind of food really damages our gut health and really doesn't offer us nutrient-dense food that's full of the things your body needs to thrive. So really, if you're looking at recovery, it's getting back to some whole, real food. I advocate the use of meat as part of a healthy diet. I believe if you buy it from well-farmed sources, that it can be both positive to the environment and to your health. But meat is a very nutrient-dense food, offering us zinc and B12 and other important vitamins when we're looking at immunity. You don't have to eat it in order to stay healthy, but it is a bit of a cheat when you're looking at trying to get some nutrient-dense foods into you. But I would say that the big thing is that you do need a plant slant. So what I mean by that is that if you're looking at your plate, like 70% of it should come from some sort of vegetable or fruit, seed and nut form. And the reason is that in order to fight infection, we need to look after our gut health, because our gut has these amazing bacteria that does some amazing stuff for us in keeping us disease free. And actually, like 70% of our immunity, 70% of our ability to fight infection is found in our gut. So we need to eat for a healthy gut. And they love the rainbow of different colors. They love antioxidants. They love that soluble fiber. And so I always say to have a plant slant to your diet in this time. And actually, if digestion's a bit of an issue, you know, having that in the form of soups. I'm passionate about the use of bone broth too, which I've recently put a video on my Instagram about how I make that. And you can use bone broth as a basis for soups, but really packing in those different fruits and vegetables. And then I think like you turn your thoughts to supplements. Like you can't out supplement a diet. Like this isn't a quick fix. I do use supplements in my own family for my children, and I do use it in my patients. And I think probably the key ones that when you're looking at COVID and infection is, you know, your vitamin C, your zinc and vitamin D primarily. And so zinc is you get from meat, seafood, legumes, and I think there is, relatively good evidence around fighting off any virus that could be applied to COVID, and the need and the importance for having good zinc levels. The other one would be vitamin C, which you get from your fruit and vegetables. Be warned, don't have this in fruit juice. If you're going to juice anything, juice your vegetables, but eat your fruit. And also you're going to get the lovely fibre that your gut is going to love too. But that's a great source of vitamin C, and vitamin C is a potent antioxidant that's antiviral and important for our immunity. And then finally, sort of vitamin D. I get lots of questions about vitamin D. The sort of national guidelines here in the UK is that we should be supplementing with vitamin D between 1 and 2,000 international units. I'd have to look up the guidelines for children. Over the winter months, you can get vitamin D from certain foods, mushrooms and fish and what have you, but that comes in a form, your vitamin D2, which actually is difficult for us to absorb and use. Vitamin D is our sunshine vitamin. That's why we're encouraged in our winter months here in the UK to take it as a supplement, because there's just not the sunshine. And even in our summer months, because we now, lather on the sunscreen, we're obviously not, we're not getting it in the summer months either because of that. So certainly for me and my family, I have my children and me on a vitamin D supplement. I have 2 non-fish eaters, so I also supplement with fish oils for them. But other than that, I really encourage you to be getting what you need from your food. The other note about vitamin D, you can get these measured on the internet. There's lots of things like Medichecks and where you can get the test and have it done. And I would say from a kind of more functional lifestyle medicine perspective that you would want to have levels sort of above, between 60 and 90. Whereas in the UK, the normal would be, you'd be told it's normal if it's above 30, but I think the evidence would be that optimal is a bit higher than that. So you could have it measured, and you could dose yourself according to your response with that. So yes, so we've talked about sleep, we've talked about rest, we've talked about movement, we've talked a bit about nutrition, and then finally I just want to mention about connection. Staying connected, feeling loved, feeling you belong, and expressions of that, touch, being hugged, connecting through conversation. All of these things are really potent in recovery. The absence of that, the absence of these things is highly stressful to us as human beings. We're genetically wired for love and belonging and community. And when we don't have that, it's very stressful, and it actually drives disease. We actually understand now what it's doing to our genetics. So actually staying connected, having that lingering hug, and looking at ways of being loved and being part of a community that loves you is just really important part of recovery. So that's all I want to mention today. I hope that's been helpful. Please let me have your questions if I've confused you, particularly. I know the nutrition piece can be highly controversial. There's lots of confusing stuff out there on the media, and I've only just touched on things. But please just, let me know what your questions are so that I can bring clarity, that I can communicate better. But have a great day. And see you next time. Bye.